right way and go over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code SPA250 and we'll match the $250 of your initial deposit. Track stats over there. I believe that, now I may be getting this wrong because my friend Rob McLennan, the racing office, was on the, and I'm not saying it solely because Rob was on it, the Assiniboia.
We watched some of it. Yeah,
were there really like 2,000 people or something crazy watching?
There were a lot of people watching it.
I got to tell you,
Rob
Matthew,
gets the people excited.
You think it was Rob or Matthew? Or a combination thereof?
Combination
like
of
a
both.
lethal cocktail?
You know what? I have to give Matthew DeSantis so much credit because every time you turn around, he's got more content coming out,
yes,
hustling with all different kinds of tracks.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that for sure. Middle pick 4, races 2, 3, and 6 under today's 9-race card. Of course, 2 pick 5s, races 1 and 5 as well. $10 bonus, bet 50 or more here and Delaware. You get $10 back. And we have a show from 1 to 6 on FS2. I'm starting out of the apron set.
Oh, exciting.
It really is exciting.
Yeah.
As long as the bees haven't come back, I'm pretty good with that.
Yeah.
So race number 1, there were 2 heavy favorites scratched early in today's card.
Oof.
Both of them trained by Linda Rice. Just the facts.
Yep.
One of them was McCaw, who comes out, and that leaves you with the number 8, Conniving.
Yeah, look, I don't love anybody in this field. I did not, completely trust McCall when he was in, but he seemed like very much the horse to beat. So Conniving was a horse that I had in second. I decided to stick with him on top because he'll be a better price than 2 Tons of Fun, who now certainly is the horse to beat with the drop in class. And he's a horse that's run okay, sprinting on the dirt. That race back in March, cuts back in distance. See if he just finds the right group.
You're left with a whole lot of okay with the scratch of McCaw, who was going to be a heavy favorite and was a fairly likely winner. Shaking the Bell is sort of in a similar category with Conniving, where they both run figures in the low 60s, which will probably be good enough to be competitive here, and either one of them can win. The oddball being the horse that Linda stays in. The horse that Jose Lezcano was listed to ride, and that's Beach Blanket. I looked up Turf to Dirt second start. Linda Rice is 3 for 23, 89-cent ROI. She's 0 for 1 on the turn back.
This horse actually has a huge pedigree, though, too.
I don't know what to do. I know these horses, the stranger the race can run, but at the end of the day, and I'm going to kick off today's card by picking Chad Summers, and I'm going to close it out by picking Gary Contessa. So I just want you to be prepared for that. It's in your list of things I never thought would happen when I sat on the show with Andy. It's happening today. It's not a lie. It's not a misprint. You're not watching. You're not in the Twilight Zone. But the reality of 2 Tons of Fun is this horse has run against significantly better horses on the dirt, was involved in the pace that basically fell apart on April 6th. The horse finished 3rd. Was the speed in there? I don't know how good that horse was, but given the options, I would prefer to take this horse dropping down with a turf prep under her belt. And, we'll see. We'll see how short she is. It depends how many people Chad Summers tells. Well, I'm sure he's told everybody the horse can't lose, right? Doesn't he tell everybody every horse he runs can't lose?
This was a horse
From what I can tell on the board, at least.
This was a horse that took quite a bit of money in Maiden Special Weight Company early on.
I wonder why. Did anybody like him that you know of? That you've heard of?
But he does have some early speed. KD Davis going to be aboard from the rail. I mean, look, after the scratch of the favorite, he's very much the horse to beat. Like I said, I was just hoping to get a little bit of a price with the horse that's on a turn back. But, yeah, that's the horse to beat now.
See what happens in race number 1. Race number 2. A lot of guessing to be done in race number 2 as we're on the turf with the 2-year-olds. We'll give them a second to switch over. You've gone to a horse that has experience, that's likely to be somewhat forward here with Irad on the outside. As Irad begins race number 3, 1 down to Flavian Pratt. His career may not be quite over yet, but I got to tell you, since Greg Wolf declared Irad 1 to 9 to win the title,
Greg threw out the anchor on
I was willing to make a real bet and take a little 10 to 1 in the field. Greg pretended he wanted to bet, but I think he was hedging a little bit, and Irad sort of, everybody got in a run. Big, crazy day on Sunday with the 11 race card, now 10 flat races, where Manny won 4 and Flavian won 4. So
and
great days
Dylan
for them.
Won 4 on Saturday.
Yeah, now a lot of people out of town, but what I would say about Dylan's 4-win day was he rode sensationally. I mean, and they weren't short-priced horses he was winning on. He was giving them, he rode. His riding on Saturday was I'll put it this way. If Irad or Flavian had given those rides, people would be talking about it a lot more. He really, really rode well on Saturday. Anyway, Irad's 1 behind. He's probably not in a deep, deep depression about this. I think he's ready for the,
I
she's
think
ready
he's
for the
got
challenge.
a few more
I think
good
he's-
ones to come.
And you know what? Even
throughout
if he
the
loses,
meet.
I'm sure he'll be okay eventually.
I'm a little interested on this horse getting to the turf. He showed a lot of speed first time out and was just second best. I remember Maggie saying he wasn't 100% fit that day, or whoever was in the paddock for that afternoon. And then faced Moplex, who of course would come back to win the Sanford in the subsequent start. And it's interesting, in the immediate family in the pedigree, none of the siblings tried the turf, but the dam of Tis the Law was all turf and synthetic. And Tis the Law's progeny are actually, only 3 have tried sprinting on the turf, but 2 have finished in the money, 1 beaten just ahead on the grass, and actually 2 for 2 in turf routes, which I thought was really interesting. So far, obviously it was a limited number of runners, they've run well on the grass. In fact, 2 out of the 3 winners for Tis the Law have been turf runners.
Constitution's handled the grass, so it's not a big surprise. I just noticed the scratched horse is a son of Country House. I have not seen a Country House. Horse, the
He's
winner
had
of the,
2 starters so
he?
far, so this would have been his 3rd. Yeah.
And in case anybody thinks Keisha's not prepared, she is. She's
True.
deranged.
It's all color coded.
You know, I wanted to originally pick the 9, Army Proud, because JC, I love JC Shooting Star, her
she was
dam.
such a cool horse.
She was really one of my favorites. She was a nice turf horse too. I was just such a huge fan of her. So have you done the pedigree work for Saturday, by the way?
I have not gone to Saturday.
There is
yet.
a very, very cool thing in the 7th race. They're not the 2 and 3, but they're the horses breaking next to each other. The horse from 2 Post with Wayne Lucas is a half to Hoosier Filly.
Okay.
And the horse outside of her is the first fall from Serengeti Empress.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus $1.25 million for
Very exciting.
an Into Mischief, that horse. That looks like a fun race on Saturday, but I thought that was pretty cool. I can have fun with Tom on that one. The 7, Pay the Juice. We'll take a look at the 2-year-old sales work. I don't know about you. I thought this horse worked pretty fast.
Went 10 flat at the OBS March 2-year-old sale. I thought moved like a turf horse. We talk about kind of high knee action. This is a pretty good demonstration of it. Asked a little bit at the start, but I thought finished pretty nicely. And what you like to see with these fast 2-year-old sales workouts as well is that it doesn't look like they're all out. You don't want the rider to be going to the crop a lot, asking them a lot, doing anything funny with their leads or stuff like that. Those are the things that you look for. And I thought it was a very nice work for this son of Omaha Beach.
Let's throw a little love out to number 5, Leon Blue, who, as some will know and some won't, is named for the late, great Leon Blushewitz, who passed away this year. And, you know, if you're not familiar with Leon Blushewitz, I mean, he was really one of the last of a dying breed of racetrackers and really entertaining, a guy who, I'll tell you one thing, he knew how to put the money through the windows and he knew how to cash a bet. And he was a very popular figure among many of us around the racetrack for a long, long time. And trained some really great horses. He trained the original Will on the Move, who won the Ashland at Keeneland, but had some very good horses. And of course, one of my favorite horses was him, who I think is a little before your time here, though, maybe even in general, was a horse named Admiral Alex. And I think Blue hadn't started a horse in like 2 or 3 years. And he started this horse at 1 1/8 miles in its first career start in a maiden race on Whitney Day at Saratoga. I think it was Whitney Day. It was definitely a big Saturday. I think it was Whitney. And of course won and paid $7. And I said only Leon Blushewitz could possibly have a first time start at 9 furlongs, his first start in 2 years, and end up with chalk. And then he ran it back in the logical spot you do a few weeks after breaking your maiden in the Travers.
As you do.
And I was with Jason Blewett, and we were in the gazebo. We used to do it for the thing. We were doing a show in the Travers, and we turned around, and he opened up the favorite. The power of Leon Blushewitz. You think Chad Summers has some power in getting his horses bet. You got nothing on Blue. And he did not run well. And then after running there, he chose the next logical stop, the Grade 1 Jamaica, that's now the Belmont Derby. We moved it and didn't run well there. But he did win a next race, an allowance race.
Wow.
But Blue is a true legend in this game and a friend of many. And I remember when he came back, and you know he was close to Nick Zito, and Nick gave him some work around the barn. And Blue was a great character, and I think it's really sweet that they've named the horse for Leon Blushewitz.
I love that. And this horse has some pedigree, too, in the 2nd generation. So,
Absolutely. I think this horse can run a little bit, so I'm hoping this horse, I would love to see this horse run well for Blue. As far as Iron Max, you know, I felt like such a buffoon. I am a buffoon, but not at the level of some buffoonery at the highest levels. But nonetheless, Saturday, that Cherie DeVoe horse that won the first race, I was reading our friends in Saratoga Special, and Cherie was raving about that horse, and they paid 13 to 1. Well, I saw
No,
Maya
well,
had
I guess what happened was with that in the workouts, apparently
the other horse was
stablemate
working out.
out working
Well, in
him,
there,
but
Cherie was.
I mean, I was on the desk, but I turned around and I remember I said to Rajiv and Sarah, I was like, wow, that's such a good looking horse. And
Well, Iron Max was got some nice write-ups, Saratoga Special, so I've sort of gone in that direction with Maya. There's enough turf pedigree to speak of. You do have a Caravaggio. You know, both Maya and Sugar McGay with the 7 just don't have great numbers with 2-year-old firsters going short, but I don't want to worry about that too much. I don't know. Got anything else you
with
want to talk
Iron
about?
Max,
The one?
well, yeah, the one Pandemic Hero certainly has some turf pedigree, and then this one for Wesley Ward, a 2-year-old sprinting on the turf, you often have to pay attention.
He's
But it
often
looks
pretty
like,
good.
Yes, it looks like this could be a pretty live race. As far as Iron Max, I have so much respect. In fact, I was actually joking with Maya the other day. I said, we're going to start calling you Mr. 2-year-olds because your 2-year-olds are running so well. This is one who seems to be training really well on the main track. And 2-year-old first-time starters on the turf, I noticed he was 0 for 18.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
over turf sprints, over
Turf
13,
sprints,
one
yeah.
hitting the board. Yeah,
So
no,
that
lousy
was, that
stats.
was a little question for me. This
It's
was
time for
actually,
him to-
if we were off the turf, this was my top
Well, it's
pick.
time for him to improve his game. I'm reading the Saratoga Special. I came in. I was very sad to see, though apparently she's okay, that my friend Bonner Young will not be making it here to Saratoga this
Aw.
summer, and she's a wonderful person.
Usually we always see her,
I'm going to
yeah.
miss seeing her. She's probably not watching Talking Horses, but nonetheless, she's of course owned so many good horses over the years. From Barclay Tag, so many of my favorite. I think she owned his first Grade 1 winner, Miss Josh, who Barclay
well,
told me
great.
his first Grade 1 winner was ridden by none other than Lafitte Pinkai
How about
out in
that?
California. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good horse. Had bad feet, I think. Race number 3. So race number 3 is the race to decide who am I going to put on top of Chasing Daylight, and we'll show her finishing second. And in fairness to her here, they
I,
gave
like
up
you,
the rail.
did not want to put Chasing Daylight on
you
top. I
can't.
just feel like you have to pick her second.
Well, she did give up the fence. The fence was good, and she got
Right.
outgamed inside here by Crystal Air. But how many times,
I
Acacia, have we
know.
said, well, today is the day that
I
Chasing Daylight
know.
is in the right field.
Yep.
And today is the day that she's in the right field, but it's just every single time, and she loses.
She got in front of Smokin' Hot Kitty last time, who would win, and then Smokin' Hot Kitty would come back, wire the field.
She's four for the last 5 and 4 for 4 on the dirt.
She's been very good recently. A
Rossi,
kitten's joy that loves the dirt,
Really?
and they've got the right equipment with her. She was able to get the 9 furlongs as well. But that said, with Chasing Daylight, she has some speed. I ended up going to Scarlet's Dream, who I thought had a pretty passive trip last time
Well,
out.
it's a huge
and just,
rider change.
Right. Gets Tyler Gaffleone today. Just was kind of trying to run up on heels into a hole that didn't really exist and never really looked comfortable. Stretches out in here and should be forward and a better price.
You didn't want to send in then that replay and add that to the replay list?
I
I decided
did
to be
not.
nice. It's Wednesday. You know, if it was like
You're
Saturday.
fired up today. What do you mean trying to be
I'm
nice?
sitting here with you. It's the beginning of the 3rd week. It's Saratoga. How can you not be? I mean, it's the greatest
I'm
here.
excited.
This place is. I know
Yeah.
you are. This place is. I mean, this place is the greatest.
I was out with Ernie Munich this morning,
Wow.
so my day started
Wow.
great.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah.
everyone's dream to
Yeah.
spend the morning with Ernie. Really, yes. Ernie's a wonderful man who does so much great video work for us as well. What were you doing? Anything?
So I did a bunch last year of the pony features of thoroughbreds kind of in their next chapter
cool.
as ponies. And so we did a feature with one of the outriders, Jesse Costa, and his pony,
Nice.
Chick, who actually Maggie used on the Fox show.
And Acacia has some of the cutest footage of lobster.
That was Chowda,
Chowda,
I
I'm
showed
sorry,
you. Yes,
Chowda.
yeah, but actually both Chowda and Lobster, and we'll talk about it tomorrow because their brother Butta is debuting. But Chowda and Lobster, both New York bred stakes winners, are retired, and there was a lovely woman named Heather in Connecticut who's actually the equine massage therapist for Racing for Home, our organization, and they're just spoiled and loved and in a wonderful place.
There is a gigantic bug. Oh, that's
Oh,
a
no.
bumblebee.
Oh,
That thing's
God.
bigger than Caca.
Oh, my God.
Get out of here. Don't worry, you're fine. Well, we found out something that Acacia dislikes more than me. Anyway, let's get back to the race. He was a big guy, wasn't he? Yeah. We had a yellow jacket bothering us at dinner the other night outside. Just bothering one of us, not me. Somebody nice to me. As far as Malou, I'm not Malou's biggest fan, and I have no argument with your pick on the 4 either as an obvious alternative. My problem with the 4 is where's are good races, but I guess you could say the same thing for Malou. The one thing I'll say for Malou is that she's coming back very quickly, Linda off the claim, which she has some success doing. But also, I thought the rail was very good that day, and Malou had no problem circling the field wide, bad field or not. Um, I thought she was a bit against the track, so I'm going to take her as the alternative. But they got to beat, they have to beat Chasing Daylight. I
Right.
just, like you, I can't put her on top in there. And so I went to Malou, coming back on short rest off the claim. Big Ego, the big scratch in race number 4. So you have, did you scratch into this
I
horse? Or did you have
scratched
this
into,
horse on top
yeah.
to begin with? Go
I
ahead.
scratched into Stanley Ruff. If that last race didn't exist, I'd feel a little better about
That's
it.
the problem, though.
And that's the really big problem here. I thought overall last time that it was a horse that seemed to be mentally improving. I thought physically still could improve a little bit more. So I think maybe stretching out, we'll get a chance to see him be a bit more forward. I just wasn't 100% sold on anybody else. I was going to chalk it out and go with the favorite in here, so scratching into Stanley Ruff and hope that stretching out he can kind of get into the run of the race a little bit more.
Yeah, my problem is the last race.
I agree.
I mean,
agree.
the winner of that race.
Totally agree.
I just, well, actually, yeah, that horse can win. I have no argument, as can the 5. By the way, people interested, Linda Rice, in addition to her scratches in the fourth, she has now scratched Everyone Loves Linda and Hot Fudge.
Okay.
I liked Hot Fudge, actually, so maybe that contributed to the scratch. The bigger problem I have here is the other Linda, Barron's Bounce, because this horse's last race was borderline pathetic. I mean, broke a little bit slowly.
Another one that
stayed
if
out a
that
little
last
bit
race
early.
didn't exist, you'd feel a little bit more confident.
Soma
Yeah.
Beach is 40-1 that day.
I know.
That was just a bad race.
Yep.
Can she win? Of course she can win.
And
But-
she just doesn't, just doesn't have much speed.
Yeah, I'm not particularly excited by those horses, and while they can win, so ends up leaving me with Jansen and Irimon, and both of whom I've picked way too many times. And the problem with Jansen is I picked him at 19-1, and he ran a winning race, and he didn't get it done. Fernando Hara listed to ride
Yes,
Jansen?
that's what I have,
I think
yeah.
the last time he rode a Saratoga
I don't know.
in Visor,
That long?
I
Wow.
don't know. And I took Irimon because I'm going to be on the show with Rajiv, and I want to say on the show while I'm on with Rajiv that I took
I
Irimon.
had my mug this morning with coffee that our friends from Jamaica gave us
Oh,
after
nice.
the Mute Mayo.
Nice.
And I'm a big fan of that.
Nice. Irimon has run well enough to be a competitive, and at least in his dirt races, he's running better than the 5 and 8 with more consistency,
Yep.
and he'll be a bigger price.
Yeah.
I don't love him. He's had his chances, but I was sort of down to those two, and I took the bigger price of those two, obviously.
fair.
I thought Big Ego kind of laid over the field with him out. You lose any value on anybody if you like somebody else. Race number 5, which will end the first pick 5 and kick off the late pick 5. We'll take a break after this. We're on the turf. What are we doing? I do want to show one of my favorite rides by a Kentucky Derby winning rider, because I really think it's important to go back to it, the last race that Scat to Tap did not go a mile and 3/8, and just appreciate this ride. So when you're sitting back and there's two horses 10 lengths in front of you, now I'm not a jockey, but I've spoken to enough jockeys, and I think the one thing you don't want to do is marry yourself to the hedge when there's two horses backing up in your face, which is what the 3rd and 4th horses riders did. The Kentucky Derby winner rider did not do that. And as you can see, it really didn't work out very well. And I think there's a reasonable argument that Scat to Tap would have won this race had he not done that. And he might look a little bit better coming into this race. What do you think?
I agree. Not the easiest go of it for him. The thing with him, he took so long to finally win, and then he came back, and I thought, all things considered, actually ran quite well that day. We've talked about Fernando Abreu, who has this horse now, and the limited number of horses that he's brought up to New York. I
He's
think have
done
been
well.
live. I think a
Very
very
well.
good horseman, very good trainer, and just dropping in, I thought, yeah, certainly makes some sense in here. I picked
Yeah,
him
no,
second
I
like
thought
you.
he was a bit of a player. We both put him second. Talk about Sanderson, who we both picked.
Both end up on the same one here. This was a horse who came off a layoff last time out. I'd written that he just looked like he needed a race to strengthen up a little bit. So now second off the layoff as well. And I thought kind of 3 wide, had to take back. If you watch the race and watch the head on too, he kind of blew the turn a bit coming off of it. Looked like he was still pretty green. So the blinkers coming on, finishing on swapping leads in the stretch as well. Tough race he comes out of too. I think just in a more logical spot.
Yeah, I thought breaking post 11, there was really nothing Manny could do with him, and just got caught in a very bad spot. And like you, I thought he was just a very logical horse in this race, where I just wasn't that thrilled really with anybody. I just didn't. I mean, you and I saw the race very similarly. I've got Funny Uncle in there a little bit, trying the turf. There's a little bit of pedigree for this horse, but
Did
the one turf
debut
race
on
was,
the turf for what it's worth.
and it was awful. So
Yes.
I don't have any, maybe Mike has found something and the horse will run better for him. I suppose that Devil Got Cause is a little bit interesting, showing speed in a much better field just a few days ago for Dallas Stewart and dropping. I don't know, though. Is he going to be able to clear in here? He might be the controlling speed.
Yes.
If he can clear from the outside, I think he's a bit dangerous.
That was my thought too. That speed is certainly dangerous.
All right, we'll see what happens. Late pick 4 after a quick break from our friends at Saratoga Springwater.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Springwater. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Acacia Clement and Andy Serling, race number 6, mile 16th on the Mellon. I do want to mention the rails are at 0 for the first time since June 8th, Belmont Stakes Saturday. We didn't run the turf on Sunday, since the one day. And there have been situations in the past when the rails have gone to 0 on the inner, though not as extreme last year as some other years, where the inside's been a significant advantage. Now, that was normally the 5th week, and this is week 3. We're moving the rails a lot more. And it's probably not going to be an incredible change, or I don't think it's going to be a huge bias, given it's early in the meet and the other ground wasn't so, dramatically used. That I'm not that worried it'll be a bias, but I think people should pay attention to that for the inner. So pay attention a little to how the inner's playing and see if horses are doing well saving ground, though this race is on the Mellon. I want to start with the horse that I think is the worst to beat in Overacting, and I don't believe that Overacting is going to be 7-2. I think Overacting is going to be much shorter. Now, maybe people see Manny riding, but Manny rides this horse now.
Right.
And what I like
rides
about
a lot for
Overacting here is that she showed a new dimension. She got a very good trip in here, don't get me wrong, but she showed the ability to rate, something she didn't do for IRAD back in October. So, and I'm not blaming IRAD, I'm just saying she as a horse didn't do it. And I think that's a real feather cap. A lot of us thought she was the main competition to Silver Skillet had they stayed in the turf in the Mount Vernon. This is just an easier spot. I think she's going to be closer to 2-1, and I think she's a horse to beat even though I didn't pick her.
No, I agree. And look, she's just not a dirt horse, and you can certainly forgive the Mount Vernon, and I can understand trying in there. And yes, she did get a good trip that day, but she was towards the start of her career kind of a runoff on the front end. And so the fact that she was able to settle a bit more, I think is definitely a benefit. And it took a few strides, but Manny really kind of stuck with it and got her to relax.
But you
I
don't
thought
like
he did
her
a
today.
really good job with it.
You don't like her today.
I picked her fourth. I just liked others in here.
Okay. We'll talk about
I like
Snowy
Snowy
Evening as we
Evening.
show Spooky Ladies last race, and this is 2 back for Snowy Evening. I bet her this day, and I don't know. I mean, the winner was a little luckier than she was, so I don't think they ran any worse. I just don't like this race that much, though. I
No,
hope she
that's
runs
fair.
well
I
for
think
Steve.
really Spooky Lady ran a huge race this day because
Really?
Well, because Autumn Glory broke slow and then rushed up
But it
to
wasn't that
challenge
fast.
her early.
It wasn't that fast a pace.
But she's used to being able to kind of set things her own way on the front end. And that day she did have a foe who ended up fading in that race.
I still
in
think she
Autumn
should have won
Glory.
last time.
That's fair.
I'm a little sick of her. I mean, I know she gets
No, she's
Flavian, but I don't know what he could have done differently
that just
last
doesn't
time.
win. I know, I agree. But I thought that Snowy Evening ran fine that day, and then she's a horse that kind of rounds into form as well, like a lot of the Dave Donk runners do. And then last time out, she was totally up against it pace-wise in the Port Washington where Silver Skillet wired the field. And I just think hopefully she could get a good trip in here.
I like money grab, excuse me. Um, I actually think she has been significantly better on the turf than she
Yeah.
was in the dirt. And I do understand that sometimes horses can be flattered by running. In the Memories of Silver, she ran fifth. It was a better field. But the thing is, I actually thought she ran well that day. She was 3 to 4 wide the entire way around the track after breaking a length slow. And I thought she was running in the stretch, and all the good running was done down the inside that day. And I thought she ran well. And then, okay, what happened last time? Well, she's in against opens in a tough spot. She was 4 wide in the first turn, and she was a little wide the rest of it. In a day you really wanted to be on the
She
inside
also got
on
pretty
the inner.
keen last time,
Yeah,
too.
and she gets Lasix now. I mean, I think there's just an awful lot
It's
to
her
like
first
about her.
time on turf against New York breds.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think she's run really well for Horacio's having a good meet so far. So
Yeah.
I'm in on money grab, and I'm going to use her with overacting.
I like it.
See what happens. Race number 6, race number 7, where Linda Rice has her 2 scratches. At least it's not a 2 from a Saturday race from an 8 going down to 5, but nonetheless, I get that everyone loves Linda was in a little tough here.
Right.
I don't understand how Hot Fudge is in a little tough here. I thought she was a huge player in this race. But nonetheless, she's not going to play. And we'll start with Money's Gold, who you have second. I now scratch into his third. This is her win last time. I think we did see Roswell come back and run reasonably well in a subsequent start this weekend.
She did. She finished second again. She went down 3 buyer points, but she did run very well. Sam's Treasure finished 4th in that race.
Do you think she's the horse to beat?
I do, especially, I mean, she's drawn outside Spirit
helps
Wind,
her. Yep.
which helps, but she's so fast out of the gate. Like, if you watch just the break, her gate speed is what really puts her at such an advantage. And so it will be interesting to me with the presence of Spirit Wind, who also is very quick out of the gate. But the fact that Money's Gold is drawn outside, I think, was what kind of made the difference for me.
One of the things that concerns me with her is running without Lasix. Now, to be fair, she hasn't run badly without Lasix. I thought she ran well behind Red Carpet Ready. She actually didn't run badly in the mile and 16th Acorn
No,
without
but she
Lasix.
does not want that far.
But she still runs her fastest figures with Lasix. So that worries me a little bit in a race that's highly competitive and short price. That was one of the things I didn't like. Now, Spirit Wins the second choice in the line. Is Mike Smith still here to ride this horse? We'll take a look
Yes.
at the big win at Lone Star last time out. I'm not convinced.
No,
on this
I kind
horse.
of have to see it with her. So it's funny. I looked back at my notes because back when I still worked at Gulfstream, I saw her towards the beginning of her career, and I was just never a fan of her. She's
gotten better.
She's gotten much
Maiden
better.
50.
Much better, absolutely. But she's quick. Once again, her speed is her big advantage, and comes off of that win. I think she's been well spotted. She showed a lot of speed, obviously not able to keep up with the likes of Ava and Alva Star. 2 starts back in Grade 1 company. But what does she do in here? Again, drawn inside a very fast and very talented horse like Money's Gold.
Yeah, this is a very, very tough test for her. This is a really good race, even without
Very
Hot
good race.
Fudge playing, as we'll go, speaking of Hot Fudge, to the Better Roses, and we'll show you a seed, or you're saying it's Exceed or something?
That's what Chris Griffin
Okay.
was calling.
For those of you that think that I pick every Chad Brown horse, I hate this horse's chances today. If she wins this race, I should pay a penalty. I hope I'm wrong for my friend Chad Brown, but I don't think it's possible for a horse
Well,
to be
I think
more
you're probably a
fortunate
bit
to win
salty
a race.
because you had a really good pick this day of the
Well-
second place finisher, Just Catherine, who ran the best race.
Well, she ran the best race by about 17
Yes.
miles. It's not just that. Exceed came out and interfered with her,
Yeah.
took her out of the race. She had a circle of
She
fields,
ran
far back.
huge.
And Exceed
Yeah.
got about as perfect a trip as you could possibly get in a
Yes,
race.
yes.
And she managed to win by a neck, but I'm not even sure she ran better than Hot Fudge that day, to be honest with you.
No, I agree.
And I just don't want any part of her. And she's badly outrun, I think, early in this race. Now, maybe that'll help her, but I don't really know.
Yeah, she broke sharply and was able to be forward last time, but that is not going to happen against this group today.
Yeah,
With
no,
speed,
she's going to
yeah.
be farther back. Now, that may be fine for her.
Right.
But I just am not sure she's really good enough, to be honest with you. I think the others are just
I
better
think
than
this is
she
a really
is.
competitive race.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of her chances today. Now, what about Clearly Unhinged? I like
She's
Clearly
been good
Unhinged. I think
lately.
she's been pretty good. Here
Yeah.
she is winning the winning colors.
Yep, she was right off the hip of the pace setter last time out and was able to kick away and just win about as easy as could be in the winning colors. And She's 2 for 2 with Steve Asmussen. Even prior to that, with Michael McCarthy, she ran very well in the Grade 1 La Brea. She's has some good form to her behind Pretty Mischievous last year. So certainly one that seems like she's taken a step forward at 4 as well. And she has some tactical speed. She's not a need the lead type versus the other two that we mentioned.
No, I'm a fan of hers, and I think she's going to run well. We haven't seen Steve run that many horses here so far at the meet. I think he's picking it up a little bit with his entrance, but have been a little bit slow. And then we'll get to the horse you and I both picked, and we'll look at Sterling Silver's last race when she was 3rd in the Dancing Renee. And why do you like her?
I'm a fan of Sterling Silver. I always have been. She was off slow last time out. The winner wired the field. Can't Hurry Love was pretty good, by the way, too. And this one couldn't get by for second. I do wish that. But it was her first time with the barn. She's a horse that sometimes struggles to kind of put back-to-back good races together. But I think she's run well in the past at Saratoga. And I thought she could get the right kind of trip in here.
I thought she'd get pace to run into. You know, the rail was good in this race, so being inside was beneficial. But the pace also completely held together and was really against her in there. So while she'd have to run faster, she has run fast enough in the past. I thought she ran very well 2 races back, maybe moving a little bit soon in that race. And I know it's 6 furlongs, but I think the last move may be the right move in here. And like you, I like Sterling Silver. And what came up a very, very good honorable miss. All we're missing is Hot Fudge. And Honorable Miss was one of my early favorites. You know, she won the Fall Highway against the boys twice, one of them closing from 14th with that quarter mile to go.
Wow.
At 6 furlongs at Belmont Park. Yeah, she was a horse trained by Frank Whiteley, and I believe owned by Penny Bryn Farm. She was really a good horse, and I always love to think about her when we run the Honorable Miss, race number 8. So, race number 8, the horse that I have second, you have on top, is American Diamond, who I have no argument dropping down as the horse to beat. But go ahead.
Basically that. Watching the last couple of races as well, a horse that...
No, hang on, guys. Relax.
They got excited.
I'll cue that.
It's
I
okay.
appreciate it.
You can
but
talk about
no,
it.
I want you to talk about the horse, and then I want to talk about that, which is why I didn't pick the horse on top. But go ahead.
Dropping down in class. One thing I am concerned about is that recently he's been very far back. Was a little awkward out of the gate last time as well. And with the scratch of Kalik, who I was hoping with the blinkers on was going to be forward again in here.
I don't think Kalik could be forward if you and I were in a horse suit in a
He
match
runs
race against
better
him.
when he's forward, and he
No, you're right.
acts like a horse who wants to be
He's
forward.
good when he's forward, and the races have incredibly slow paces.
Right.
But he's gone. I'm sorry.
But
Go
the
ahead.
blinkers are going on. Anyway, that was my hope. But American Diamond earlier, when against softer competition, had been able to kind of get into the race a little bit more. And Tyler Gaffleone, every time Tyler's ridden him, he's gotten him into the race early.
I found this stat
appreciate it.
on Zaffy Joseph, which I thought was
Now
kind
we
of
can show the
interesting.
stat.
At Saratoga, over the last 5 years, he's run 53 horses on the grass. 2 of them have won. Now, I'm not going to argue that they probably didn't look as good as our American Diamond.
Right.
But for a guy that wins with about a quarter of his starters, he's also 9% with 92 starters at NYRA, with approximately 28% of them hitting the board. At NYRA with a 76-cent ROI. The horses he has shipped to NYRA have found the going a little tough for them up here. I agree with you. This is a very, very logical horse. I don't think he's going to be 8-1 in here on this drop down. Did you? I didn't think he would be that short. I mean, I guess, we'll take a look at Street Ready first, who I end up with on top. And I will fully admit, and this is 2 races back for Street Ready, that he may just not be that good, but I thought he ran well enough in this race to be competitive. He's got back races, and he just didn't want to go 1.5 miles last time.
Yeah, that definitely was a little bit tougher, and it was also in Grade 2 competition in the Pan American, and he couldn't reach the top 2 horses 2 back behind Emirati, who obviously has a bunch of back class as well, and was the favorite that day. I thought ran pretty well too. He's a horse that has kind of flourished going longer, but I actually even questioned previously if 1 mile and a 16th was too short, and he's been able to win at it as well. So it seemed that Mike Maker had the same thought in trying to stretch him out, but maybe this just is his better distance.
Yeah, I took him as a somewhat logical horse. And, David, with the scratch of Kalik, has
Kalik,
Peros Kalik as the favorite.
It's a Bahamian beer.
It's a Bahamian beer?
Yes.
Really? Can we get some?
Rajiv,
can
I
you bring
saw
some
it
of
was
that?
when I was in the Bahamas. I sent it
Really?
to, yeah. Edwards told me.
Was that a
that's what it
bachelorette party that you went to down in the Bahamas
That was
recently?
last year, yes.
Yes, I can remember that. Be careful what you tell me. I never forget anything. We'll take a look at Peros winning last time. I'm not saying he can't win, but he'd be a pretty rough favorite for me to take.
Well, I remember you and I were on the set for this race, and we were both kind of against him this day too. And he just had a ton of horse waiting for room. He took a lot of money, more than any of us had anticipated, and he was ready this day. This is a horse that I've always felt is just better with a little bit less ground. Obviously, he was able to handle it last time. So maybe last time was kind of the time, was my thought coming into this race.
Well, he was bet last time.
he took
Like,
a lot of
they
money.
knew he was going to win. It was
And he
crazy
delivered.
how much
Yeah.
money he was taking. From start to finish, he'd drift up, he'd drift back in. He did have a little trouble in that race, but he also had a sensational trip getting there. He was saving ground. So he had so many good things go for him in there. And now he's got post 10, even with one scratch. So it's a little bit trickier, and especially with the rails down. And if you feel that, you know, there's a chance you may want to be a little bit better, at least being towards the inside, I think he's lined up for a very sort of tricky trip in this race. So I'm not saying he can't win, but I didn't want him either. I mean, I'm like you. I've got Bourbon Bay and High Tide as my lesser horses. I don't want to ignore a horse in good form for Brad Cox shipping in.
Yeah. The Beyer speed figures for Bourbon Day stack up. Last time out, I thought had a good trip, but finished really well. He's been very consistent since moving to Brad's barn as well, and drops in for 40 here. They claimed him for 30, so it just makes sense.
So I know everybody's waiting for the second half of my Chad Summers, Gary Contessa bookend. And it's not just because I saw Gary Contessa at dinner the other night, but I think there's a method to my madness as we move on to race number 9. My thing about race number 9 is I don't like any of them.
I don't either.
And, for instance, Quite Continental. Take a look at the turf race. Okay. Same connections, different trainer. I know it's first time Linda. This was, not a good field.
It was a pretty slow race, debuting for 32 at Tampa.
There's an argument it could have been a little bit better than it looks.
Yes, certainly.
I
And
don't
that's early in the year. You know, sometimes you do see those turf races come back pretty slow with the figures, and a lot of horses start their winters down at Tampa and go on to have good years after that. But I don't know. I thought he was second best. Was second best that day. She obviously appreciate getting back to the grass. Maybe it was a bit of a cop out in here, but I just thought
she's the worst to beat.
Lose Redemption. She's the only one in this field that's never run for a claiming tag.
I don't disagree. I don't think she's done that much running.
No, she hasn't.
In her races, but she's absolutely the most logical horse in this race. There's no question about it. I think it would be foolish to say anything other than that. She's very, very logical in here. I mean, tongue twister. Okay. I will agree that was a very poor ride by Dylan last time. What Dylan was doing rating this horse, I don't know.
She did not like to be rated.
And I agree, but is she really going to easily get by the 2 Quite Continental?
No, I agree.
Isn't Jose supposed to go with her? So isn't she going to be in that same situation? And don't we wonder if she really wants to go that far?
It's definitely a question for sure. As far as that race where she was rated, you had Lucky and Gorgeous who was able to close into that.
I hope she's favored.
Lucky and Gorgeous.
Like David's line.
Oh.
I couldn't bet her in a million years.
Yeah, I agree.
She got about as good a ride from Flavian as a horse could get last time. And now I know Bossy Jeans was allowed to loaf along on the front end, but she stayed on the rail every step of the way until she angled out. I don't want her in here.
No, I agree.
The thing is, I didn't want any of these horses. And I think Rookie League is the lone sort of interesting horse here, but it's going to be Chad Brown taking money for Karovich. And she was actually, something went wrong last time.
She was pulled up in the stretch, and she walked off.
It happened around the turn, right? It happened around the 5/16 or something, I think.
It did, yeah.
But I think she was actually doing some running when that happened.
She was very green before the race, and it was kind of odd to see her starting on turf. I
agree. I thought that she was the horse to beat if it came off the turf.
I agree.
I know she was the horse to beat. So I'm looking at all these horses I don't want to bet on at reasonably short prices, and I don't have any great confidence in my pick here. But I will tell you something about War Terminatrix. This horse gets a significant rider change to Junior Alvarado. I assume Junior's still riding. And first time out, this horse got a bit of a trip in there. Kind of broke well, just the anchor went out, completely dropped out, got blind switched in the stretch.
The first turf race.
The first turf race. I don't care about the dirt races. Right. Galloped out very strongly in there. So that was a little bit interesting. Then runs back in New York Stallion Series, where obviously she had no chance.
She's way
But
overhead,
that was
yeah.
also a super gold rail, and she was basically 3 wide the entire way. She ducked in a little bit in the stretch, but she was wide the whole way in a race where nobody picked up any ground whatsoever. And she's a war dancer, an unbridled song mare. Isn't she supposed to be
Supposed
fine
to like
going
going
longer
longer.
distance? And
I agree.
I get it. She's a tough horse to like. She may be awful, and it may just be a terrible pick on my part. But I thought there was enough to like about her in this race where I just don't want to bet my money on any of the others.
Nope, I agree.
That I'm going to bet a few dollars on her.
agree.
So that's where I'm going.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'll need it.
Yeah.
All right. You done? We done? Anything else?
I think we're done.
All right. We're
The
done.
bug hasn't come
Are you on
back,
early or late?
thankfully, So I am on late today.
All right. All right. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA250 and we'll match the $250 of your initial deposit. Track stats, check them out when you're over at Naira Bets as well. Middle pick 4, races 2, 3, and 6 for the pick 4s today. 1 and 5, of course, for the pick 5s. $10 bonus, 50 or more at Saratoga and Delaware. And last but not least, 1 to 6 on FS2, covering all the action today. We're done.
It was fun.
We'll do it again next Wednesday.
Yeah, looking
All right.
forward to it.
Hopefully we'll be on the turf. All right. Have a great day. Frank Miramati, revving up. Day number 10, the 25% mark of Saratoga. It's just starting.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise and remove your hats for our national anthem.